guest this week is one of Britain's most famous entrepreneurs. Please welcome Sir Richard Branson. Thank you very much for coming on the show. So, thank you very much for coming on the show. You've got a book out?
I've got a book out.
A second book, I believe. Or second autobiography.
Yeah, so I'd...
What was the first one called?
Losing My Virginity. And this one, 20 years on, is Finding My Virginity. So...
Where was it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been... it's frightening to think of it, but I've been 50 years. I started as an entrepreneur when I was 15, 16 years old, and had lots of great adventers, and so I've tried to write a couple of books that can reflect what's gone on, but also just be a good read, which I think is the important thing with a book.
Massively. It would be remiss of me not to ask, where did you lose your virginity? I mean, because you lost it and found it, so you must know where it is.
I lost my virginity to a delightful Dutch girl when we were both very young. Since this is a late-night show...
Go on.
I'd finished doing, what I thought was a wonderful performance.
I like that.
I got off, and
she's not a pop, right?
And she carried on having an orgasm. So I thought, well, this is all right. I better get back on again. And she whispers in my ear, asthma attack. Asthma attack.
Wow.
So we ended up being carted off by an ambulance to hospital.
I mean, you got out of it by then. Yeah. I'd go for that. I don't know what's wrong with her, mate. I never thought we'd be having this conversation.
No.
With a Knight of the Realm note.
So tell me, how did you lose your virginity?
OK, it's a good question. I was dressed as a Dutch girl, and... This guy just wouldn't stop hammering me. I was so sexually gratified, I had to fake an asthma attack. But he was so caring that he called the police. Police, the ambulance. You absolutely love a PR stunt, don't you? That's one of your favourite things.
I love an adventure.
Yes.
I mean, PR stunts per se... I mean, if I'm going to fly around the world in a balloon, I'm going to have Virgin on the side and not British Airways on the side.
But you've got a lovely little running feud with BA.
Yeah, there was occasion where BA ran a big Dirty Tricks campaign against Virgin, which some people might be old enough to remember.
Yes.
And we won a major court case against them, and we happened to win at Christmas time, and it was we had the largest libel damages in history, and we distributed amongst all our staff, and it became known as the British Airways Christmas bonus. And not so long afterwards, they decided to sponsor the London Eye.
Yes.
The London Eye was flat on the ground, waiting to be put up, and British Airways' name was going to be on it. And I got a call at 6 a.m. in the morning saying they had a technical problem. And, well, we just happened to own an airship company. So I rang up the airship company, which was just outside London, and I asked them to scramble an airship. And all the world's press were there to see this eye go up, and the airship flew over the eye.
We've actually got a photo. Look at that.
Anyway, we got the headlines, BA didn't. So
You're a vegetarian? And...
Well, I don't eat beef.
But am I right in saying that you started a business with Bill Gates, like you're trying to create meat substitutes?
Yeah, we've come up with a... we've invested in a company that will take a little sample of meat from a cow or from a pig or from a chicken,
yeah,
and without killing it, and then can multiply that up,
okay,
so that people can eat beef or eat chicken or pork without killing any animals. And hopefully, 10 years from now, most people in this audience will be doing exactly that, or 10 or 20 years.
OK, that's pretty good. We're going to have loads of cows, aren't we, if we're not killing them?
Well, I mean, what's
What if it turns out they're nasty? If they... What I'm saying, if they... A bit like Planet of the Apes, if they find out we've been eating their ancestors for years and we let them live, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Planet of the Moose, we could...
That's all right, we got a spaceship coming. We'll get you off the... get you off.
OK. So, I like that. I mean, that sounds like a plot of a film, doesn't it? Who would be the first people you would take to Mars if you were going to try and start humanity again?
Well, I always like to be the honorary woman in a, like, if there's a hen party, I'll gate crash that instead of going to the stag party. So it would have to be... It would... not
just women?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Of course. So, I mean...
I'm 40 years married, so I'm not sure that my wife will approve of this. She'll be coming as well.
Yes, of course. But and the rest just women?
So and the rest just women, yeah. I like around women.
Do you prefer women's company?
Yeah.
OK, that's pretty interesting.
So who you would take to Mars?
Who would I take to Mars? Stephen Gerrard. Stephen Fry.
Donald Trump?
I wouldn't take Trump.
But we're not talking about coming back, are we?
Oh, that's an interesting point. Oh, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. You've got a bit of quite a full-on relationship with Trump. Is that fair to say?
Well, I wouldn't say a full-on relationship.
Right.
I wrote about it in my new book.
Yeah.
I had a lunch with him, which I found very strange, where we'd never met before.
Yeah.
He just spent the whole lunch talking about 6 people who had not helped him when his last company had been bankrupt, and how he was going to spend the rest of his life destroying them. And you know, I remember leaving just thinking, this guy's a megalomaniac. I mean, he's just, you know, why is he going to eat himself up, just going all out to destroy 6 people? Yeah. And it just sort of slightly childish.
Yeah.
Childish
well, that's the
things.
frightening thing about him. I mean, take this week, for example, yet another horrific gun incident with Obama. There was that sort of sense that we're kind of inching forward, you know, seeing him cry, seeing him visibly upset. And now we see a man who clearly doesn't care because he knows it's going to...
Obama was a very genuine, very, very down-to-earth, very, very real person.
See, this is one of the fascinating things I find about you. Like you're clearly a very righteous, honourable guy. The only thing that I don't really understand, why did you get involved in the NHS? That's the only...
Gordon Brown rang me up one day and asked me to come to number 10 Downing Street, and he said... he had an idea that he wanted to keep the NHS free forever.
Yes.
But he wanted it to be run better.
Right.
And so his idea was, you know, let's break the NHS up into smaller units where people can say, I can run that smaller unit better than anybody else.
Yeah.
I will save the country money by coming in and trying to run it better than anybody else. And you know, every 5 years you have to apply again to do it.
Yeah.
And so.
But does that not go against the sort of tenet of it? Is that not the beginning?
I mean, look. I mean, we don't make any money by doing it at all. And I'd love to just there's a lot. You know, there's thousands of opportunity in the world. You know, I think that Virgin Care, the team of people who work for Virgin Care, they're doing everything they can to, you know, improve the service and they're saving the country money, and it's still a free service. And the most important thing about the NHS is that it's run well and that it's free for people forever.
I completely understand why you're doing it, but it frustrates me that the government have to do this, because if the government were to put money into it, would that not be better? Like, because one of the biggest problems with the NHS is the fact that, you know, nurses aren't getting a pay rise, doctors aren't getting pay rises, hospitals are being shut down, so the whole thing is under such pressure. So doctors and nurses and skilled people are working incredibly hard. I almost want you to just, as a businessman, look at it all. How can we put doctors and nurses back in control rather than having this sort of big wad of middle management that feels like it's bloating it?
Well, I like to think that's... Yeah.
You know.
I like to think that if you go into any of the small little units that we've got,
yes.
that's how we run them. And the feedback we get from our staff is, I think, generally very positive.
I mean, you have faced criticism, you know, from...
Yeah, and look, I mean, there are people who would believe that most companies should be run by governments. And,
yes.
and you know, the Labour Party thinks that most businesses should be run by governments. I don't agree with this. I mean, I've had 50 years of experience of being an entrepreneur. I know,
yes.
Like when we went up against British Airways, that was in the days when, British Airways was owned by the government. British Gas was owned by the government. British Telecom was owned by the government. British Rail was owned by the government. They were dreadful. I mean, dreadful. And now, the public have got Virgin Atlantic. To keep British Airways honest. And I think we've improved them because they've got competition. It means the public benefit from it. And I think this should apply to pretty well every single business. Government should stay out of business, and they should be managing the country much better than most governments do, and not running businesses.
No, it's an interesting point. It's a very interesting point that the only grey area is that it's not the NHS isn't a business. It's caring for people, and I guess
but everything's caring for people. I mean, I mean.
But I guess that's the thing that frightens me, because if a train is late, a train's late. But if parts of the NHS don't work, that means our loved ones die. It's so dear to us, the NHS. One of the few things we can be proud of in this country, along with our biscuits. They're sensational. But
the thing that makes it so special, anybody in this room who gets seriously ill, the best place they're going to go to get a major operation is the NHS.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we've got to keep the NHS free, free forever. Make sure that it's run as well as we can forever. And keep improving it. Whatever's the best way,
That's an interesting point. Yeah, that is an interesting point. Honestly, man, thank you. I really enjoyed that conversation. There's one more question I have to ask you. You've had a hell of a career. You've got over 400 companies. What's the worst company you've ever had? Because we know about the successes. Have you had any?
I think we launched... we launched into the bridal market, and
was there a photo of you in a wedding dress? Was it? Nice.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, and it was called Virgin Brides. The problem was that we.
I mean, it's brilliant, isn't it?
We just had no market at all, so it was just hopeless.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Richard Branson.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you so much. It's really good.